Dea and DPSB School Board to order. First item on the agenda is review and approval of February 24th meeting minutes. Floor is open for comments. Yes, sir.
Well, they're fine, Dr. Sullivan, from the board's perspective.
Mr. Fay?
I think they're fine.
Yeah, I read it.
I
It's
have no issues with them.
Yeah, it's good.
We're good.
Okay. Consensus of both parties is that the meeting minutes from February 24th are fine. I'd like to have you sign these, please. Moving to item number 3, establish ground rules. At the last meeting, the parties were able to get through items 1 through 5, which brings us to item number 6 as the starting point for the discussion this evening. Floor is open.
Anything?
On number 6.
Haven't done anything on number 6.
Mrs. Fair?
We don't have anything on number 6. It seems like it's pretty common. We've had in the past.
I just have one comment about Robert's Rules of Order. Meetings will be conducted with Robert's Rules of Order. You know, if we're following the first one, orderly, courteous, and professional, you know, and in conducting in accordance with Robert's Rule of Order, are we looking at motions and amendments and discussion and I rise to a point of privilege and all of those other things that Robert's Rule of Order and parliamentary procedure require?
Mr. Fay, I'm not asking this in a flippant way. Are you a parliamentarian, so I can ask this question?
Well, I have had it in my classroom a couple times,
Okay.
yes.
So
But I'm not. I
that's
wouldn't
what I
consider
thought.
myself a parliamentarian.
Well, right, so that was what I was wondering with the Robert's Rules of Order part of it. Is that really truly what we would be doing if we?
And that's why I asked in there too. You know, if because if we are going to conduct ourselves orderly, courteous, and professional, that would be just the way it is.
I'd concur with that.
So we'd like to strike the second sentence.
Third sentence?
Yes, third
Oh, third
sentence.
sentence, yeah, that's correct.
I would also like to comment that occasionally at times, you know, the cell phone comes in use more than just as a talking tool. I use it as a calculator as well, so
Yeah, we need to.
especially when we
have those
start
out.
looking at numbers and stuff.
I think that's perfectly fine.
Yeah.
And I know there's some people who need to, maybe getting some emergency calls, so they need to at least have access to the text.
No problem.
So with item number 6, striking the third sentence and the understanding that cell phones are sometimes used as calculating devices and for emergencies, I'm assuming that this is okay as amended.
Do we really need sentence number 2 also? I mean,
I don't know, I think we had it last time. I think that's just why it was in there.
I've never heard it happen, I don't think. And it's kind of stating the obvious.
I,
It does,
I would agree with that, you know, it hasn't happened, and it just, we need to, and especially after our collaborative effort that we pushed forth to try and bring us to a closer relationship.
I can
Okay.
agree that defamatory, that sentence is already implied by the first one.
Thank you.
Okay, striking sentence number 2 and 3, and with the understanding that cell phones are used for calculating devices and for emergencies. Sentence, all right.
yeah. Yes.
Okay. Number 7.
Number 7 is almost identical to what was in last year's agreement, with the exception, when we first looked at them last year, this was exactly how it was, and I know that non-team members will not approach the negotiation table without permission of both parties was stricken, because number 1, sometimes resources are brought up, and I know the reason why that was put in there, and to me, it has to go.
Well, if you're talking about resource people, obviously, we have agreed that that would be allowed. It would be, it's different for other individuals.
Right. The individual I'm talking about, I'll make it blunt, is Fern. And we would, you know, that was put in there, and we want that out. I think Fern is a vital source of some of our information, and sometimes on the fly here, my brain goes backwards. And I think that, you know, if we want to keep it the way it was last year, I'm okay with that, which would be striking the second sentence completely, which we did do last year.
Yeah. Well, Mr. Fay, if Mrs. Picorni is your resource person, you would just need to say that. We need to consult our resource person or something. I mean, that's how I would view that. I'm not thinking of that particular thing. I'm thinking of a wider issue of people approaching, which was brought up in our negotiations training, sometimes happens in other districts. Like, many people approach the table. They want to speak, they want to tell you something, they want to hand you notes. It gets to be kind of a free-for-all. That's more what I'm referring to.
In regards to the concern of it, last year during the negotiations, there was somebody, and we brought it up, that, you know, who wanted to participate and speak to the group.
Right.
We came together, we discussed it, and a consensus, we chose, you know, not to do it. And that was done without that statement in there.
So what are your thoughts? Maybe it's best covered in the first sentence, Mr. Fay? Or then it would be incumbent on perhaps each party or the chair, and that's more incumbent than on the chair to restore order, or to say that that's not allowed, or to ask the parties if they want that to be allowed. Maybe that's something that could be worked in there. Is that what would you be suggesting something like that? Or, I mean, I'm just suggesting that's perhaps the way it might go.
But we already know that we've identified who the negotiating teams are, and that the resource people will be available. And by stating the public is prohibited from participating in negotiations meetings, that would be a done deal. We really don't need the second one. at all, because they can't participate.
No, I would agree with that. I agree with that reasoning. And that, we have that reasoning in our minutes, I think that's fine, so that we both know what we mean later. What would you think? Fine, yeah.
So striking sentence number 2 from item number 7, I'm assuming that the public participation ground rule is acceptable. That's fair?
Yes.
Mr. Fay?
Yes.
Okay. Item number 8, caucus.
We have no issues with it.
Okay.
fine.
Item number 8 is okay as presented. Item number 9, recorder.
The only feedback I received on this was, depending on how close our negotiation sessions are, if Mrs. Peterson is able to get the minutes done. So maybe we need to put allowing some flexibility for the recorder's schedule or something. I'm not sure. If we had negotiation sessions a couple days apart, that might be expecting a lot. But on the other hand, you'd want to have the minutes. So that was the only feedback I've received on these.
I don't think we've had 5 business days since the last time we met.
No,
No.
one said, no, and they're done. Yeah,
Let's get them done.
yeah, yeah.
I think what Twilight does is very good. I mean, she's thorough. She's very, very good at what she does. There's no questions about it.
Mm-hmm.
At the very end, you have, once approved, the minutes are open record pursuant to the North Dakota Open Records laws and will be distributed by the recorder to all DEA voting representatives and board members. Not to slight Mrs. Peterson and what she does, the cost of the recorder will be shared equally by both teams. That has happened in the past. And I'm wondering if it's pursuant to the open records law, why would it be shared equally if you're the public entity?
Well, it sounds like you're suggesting that the board bear all the costs of negotiating, which really would not be part of the law and would not be a role that the board would probably take. There is, I mean, we have always shared the cost of the recorder, other than the times when we did not have a joint recorder, but we all had our recording equipment.
Right.
There is time involved, there's public money involved, you know, for
Absolutely.
the salary and so forth.
In negotiations with administrators, do the administrators' organization, association, informal or as it be, do they bear half the cost of Mrs. Peterson as well?
I am going to defer that to Dr. Sullivan. That group is not an organized group.
Well, the short answer is no.
Okay.
But please keep in mind that the large reason why Mrs. Peterson is there, because I have a more significant role during administrative negotiations, is she's working for me to some extent.
And I would point out, during administrative negotiations, there's quite a few times we don't have computers available, but we do ask the recorder, Mrs. Peterson, to look up things. You know, can you look up that policy for us? Can you? So it is an administrative function for, probably more for the board and the superintendent.
I'm just going to, well, I'll bring it up, I guess. I'm going to read from a summary of North Dakota's open records and meetings laws. If a governing body delegates any authority to 2 or more people, the newly formed committee is subject to the open meetings law, even if the committee does not have final authority or is just fact-finding. Then below it says minutes. The minutes of meetings are public records and must be provided to anyone upon request.
Yes, that's correct. The negotiators are a committee of the board, appointed by the board, so, yes. That's why all the meetings have to be open. Open records, yes.
If you're required by law to have a recorder here for the purposes of open record or public records, I guess it goes back again to the burden of sharing. If you're required by law to already have it. Or is it just done in the past as a courtesy? Because it is a significant part of our budget.
As ours as well,
Can I
but,
interject just one comment to
Yeah.
maybe help the conversation along?
yeah.
If the board is going to bear the cost of the recorder, then the minutes become the board's minutes, and they don't need joint approval.
That's true. We don't,
And it has always been the practice, at least from my short time in the school district, that the parties preferred to have, whenever possible, some type of uniform established record that had been agreed upon. And to facilitate that, it can't just be a board expense.
Dr. Sullivan, I'm not familiar with the intricacies of that law exactly, but does it say written minutes, or can it be just the record of the meeting, which would be a recording?
Mrs. Fair, the school district needs to have something that if the
Mhm.
public comes in and asks for it, that we
Yes.
can give them.
Mhm, I understand.
So it would seem that written minutes would be more easily attained by an interested third party.
it says
Well,
draft
yes.
minutes, Mrs. Fair, which by the word draft, I would assume that it's,
Pre-approved.
Well, I'm sorry, I
Yeah.
don't know what you're saying, draft
well,
minutes.
you asked
Is
if
that-
it needed to be written. It said draft minutes should be made available to the public, even if the minutes have not been approved.
Oh, is that part of the century code in that? I
Well,
mean,
it's open records law.
okay, so now I know what you're, okay. I'm
Yeah.
familiar with what you're talking about.
I would assume that they would need to be written,
Yeah.
yes.
That was changed a few sessions ago to say that the draft minutes had to be published by a certain time, and you couldn't just
Yeah.
hold on to them for months waiting for the board to approve them. They had to be out. So, okay, I know what you're talking about. Mhm.
I know that it was a concern of our members, and, and they were strongly urged to see if it shouldn't. You have to negotiate by law. You have to provide the minutes by law. You're not just providing the minutes because we're negotiating. You follow me? You'd be doing it anyway. So-
Yes, the committee of the board must provide that information. yes.
And whether you want approved minutes or not, I guess that's up to you. We've been told we don't have to sign them, as well as the tentative agreements. We don't have to sign those either, but we have been signing those.
I think it does show good collaboration if we can agree that this is the record of the last meeting, and we all agree that that's what happened,
We could still do that.
which you get from the joint recorder. I don't know how comfortable I would be with just having the board approve the minutes. We could do that, but I much prefer to have them sent out. You look them over and say, this is really what I meant to say, or this is a correction I'd like to see, or we bring it back here and we make those corrections or adjustments together and we agree.
Sounds to me like since we passed number 8, maybe we should take 5 minutes.
Okay.
Yes or no?
Request a caucus.
Short, quick one so we can discuss.
Dr. Sullivan,
Okay.
request a caucus.
Caucus for the DEA for the next 5 minutes.
Where we going?
Can we use the?
Yes.
Thank you.
Twyla?
That's okay, we just push it back here. Hi there. Hold on 1 second and I'll give you a motion for you.
So, do we want to take some, okay, I got that.
Okay.
Okay, so we talked about that, right? Do we want to wait until this one, or bring it, just try and get it here now, in number 9? Down here? Okay, so you're going to take this?
Yeah.
Okay, fine, we'll talk
Then we'll
about
talk
that.
about that
Okay,
then.
all right, gotcha.
Yeah.
When we get to the elementary stuff, yeah.
Okay, great, thanks.
Go ahead, Twyla. Meeting will come back to order. Floor is open.
Our discussions, we don't want to slight what Mrs. Peterson does, because she does an excellent job. And we have, in the past, agreed that, to share. And we would like to we'll go with the cost of the recorder, but we would like her to distribute the minutes, not just to the lead negotiators, but to all negotiators.
Sure, yeah, that's what she did. Sure.
And,
I
I
think she
mean-
did that this time.
Right. We just want to make it so that everybody, has them at the same time, and they all can look at them. And understanding that within 5 business days might not be possible, but within 2, so we have time to digest before the meetings, because otherwise we sit here for 5-10 minutes and read the minutes.
Right.
5 days when possible, but definitely within 2. And she did that this time.
What? 5 days when possible, but definitely within 2?
Yeah, I mean, if we decide like today is Tuesday, we're gonna meet on Friday.
Oh, so how would be a way to word that?
I don't know.
Well, when we'd actually thought about it in number 10, because in number 10, basically send out previous meetings minutes, at least 2 days before the scheduled meeting, so that you have time to look it over. You know, we sit here right now and, okay, if we look at last meeting's minutes, you know, if we're looking at it here, there's no way, I mean, holy cow.
Well,
So,
that's-
Detailed.
yeah,
That, you're well.
just so that we have
yeah,
time
you're-
to look it over.
Yeah, that is not really the best way to do it, to come to the meeting and then read the minutes. It's just not the best way. But did everybody receive the minutes this time?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, I did.
Okay.
Mr. Fay, would you clarify for the chair what language changes are being suggested?
Okay. We would like to remove the word lead and put all negotiators, board and DEA.
How about DEA president?
Well, yeah, considering he's here right now,
Right, but-
and DEA president when he's not a negotiator, but that would help to get it out to our membership as well, so they can see it. And there's not any,
You mean the draft minutes you want everybody to see before they're corrected?
yes.
Oh, I mean, that's fine, they're open, they're basically open record, I suppose. Although they're, once you approve them, they are, that's where they're, they
That's when they
are
become official.
official.
Yeah.
So you would say the DEA negotiators, the board negotiators,
The superintendent and the DEA
Superintendent.
president.
within 5 business days when possible following the meeting? Like comma when possible, or what are you saying?
I think the confusion is that this is worded following the meeting, and Mr. Fay is talking about how many days before the
For
next
the
meeting.
previous,
Right.
Yeah.
before the next.
Oh,
Yeah, if we
yes.
don't have 5 days between the meetings,
That makes sense, okay. Within 2 days before the next meeting? I mean, how do you
Before the
want,
next scheduled
prior
meeting.
to the next?
scheduled meeting.
yeah, within 2 business days prior to the next meeting.
Okay, within 2
And
business days when
actually,
possible.
we could strike that entirely and add it, and like Mr. Schobinger said, to number 10, agenda/minutes for next meeting.
Well, but what we get at here is getting them out. If there's corrections to be made, they can be made. We could
Prior.
even put them in red, then we can decide at the meeting. Where this is, if you're sending them out, say, within 2 days of the meeting, we're actually looking at the corrections at the meeting and deciding. Or maybe, I don't know, it just seems like it'd be nice for Mrs. Peterson to be able to make those corrections and get them in.
And 2 days should be enough time to do it if we need to. I'm okay with that.
So just so that I understand, because now I'm looking at it as her boss. We finished today, the minutes need to be distributed by Thursday?
No.
No.
The 2 days prior to.
If we have a meeting on
When we set
Saturday.
the- Yeah, when we set the next meeting, let's say we set the next meeting for Wednesday of next week, it would be Monday,
Okay.
2 days prior to the next meeting.
So when the scenario occurred last year where you met within 2 days, how does she accomplish that?
She's a miracle worker.
Twyla can do it. She can do it.
She puts up with me, so you know she's a miracle. So,
I don't know how to word it, if that's the case.
You can't,
Well,
you can't rule every
where
instance
applicable.
where,
Yeah.
yeah,
We'll
Well,
just
when
take it as.
possible.
everybody would
Yeah.
understand if that were the
Yeah.
case.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know
So
everybody
I
would
know we
understand.
would.
so, just so that I'm making sure that I have this correct. The recorder will distribute the minutes to the DEA negotiators, the board negotiators, the superintendent, and the DEA president within 2 business days following,
Prior
within 2 business days prior.
to the next meeting.
I think maybe the word
That is-
within is confusing. Maybe it should just be 2 business days prior.
Yeah, 2 business, or.
Yeah,
Mhm.
we could strike within.
So you're saying 2 business days when possible? Or do you want to leave that part out? Because the only part it's not possible is if you don't have the time to get it in. Mrs. Peterson, maybe you want to give us feedback since you
Let Dr. Sullivan.
Yeah, oh, great.
Okay, so this is gonna be my suggestion as her boss. The recorder will distribute the minutes to the DEA negotiator, the board negotiator, the superintendent, and the DEA president 2 business days prior to the next meeting when practical.
I'd put in there at least, because if it comes 3,
That's fair.
you know, leaves it.
But
open.
I can understand the when practical aspect as well, if we
Yeah.
get down to the point.
In front of it, too.
Yeah, at least 2
Okay.
business days prior to the next meeting.
Okay,
when
so they could be
practical.
done sooner.
Right.
Mhm.
That's no problem, yeah.
So we're not.
Mhm.
Please
limited.
understand this so that we're all on the same page. As we know, it's not possible to predict the situations that are going to arise in the school district, and so
Okay.
that's the reason why the provision for some flexibility. So, just see if I have this now. The recorder will distribute the minutes to the DEA negotiators, the board negotiators, the superintendent, the DEA president, at least 2 business days prior to the next meeting when practical. Okay. Now that we have that sentence fixed,
Okay.
are there any other modifications, or would it be approved by the parties with those revisions to sentence number 2?
It's fine with us.
Okay. Ms. Fay?
Yeah, we'll take
Okay.
it. We'll take it.
So item number 9, recorder, is approved by the parties as revised. Item number 10, agenda for the next meeting. Floor is open.
Anything we had has been taken care of, correct?
Yeah.
So,
Mhm.
Item number 10 is approved.
That's good.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Okay, item number 11, you can see that Mrs. Peterson, in keeping with the previous discussion last week, has changed the word proposals to topics. And so item number 11 is deadline for topics. The floor is open.
Are we, Mrs. Fair, looking at creating problem statements for issues, presenting issues and creating problem statements?
Well, that was a good question that I wanted to ask you. Do we, how helpful were the problem statements last time? Is that helpful to move us forward? I understand, what I always want to know is I want to understand what the topic is about, what the problem is, or where we're coming from. So do we do that when we're creating problem statements, or do we need to actually do that? Are we naturally going to do that? Well, I mean, how do you see it this year?
I guess, it really, that's the prioritization.
And then
you know.
then we have to prioritize them. That's part of it.
Yeah. And it's always good to hear the whys
Mhm.
of our topics.
Mhm. Yes.
Why is this topic important to you?
Mhm.
Is there, and if there is a problem, how do we solve it?
Mhm.
So problem statements in that aspect are good, but
Mhm.
as you stated earlier, it's not necessarily collaborative at all because none of us have been trained in it other than 1.5.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and I wondered, it seemed to me last time, a couple of times, that the problem statements were difficult for us to get to, but we could get to, what is the issue? We could get to that. It was just difficult coming together and saying, well, do we agree on what this problem statement is? That was be more problematic.
The other aspect of prioritization in the past, and not necessarily the last time we met, in the past, we've oftentimes dealt with the easy
Mm-hmm.
topics first, and then tackled the harder topics later.
I think well, I would, speaking for myself, I don't know. I think we would want to prioritize the topics. We would still want to do that. And we probably don't need to prioritize salary. That's only if you want to talk about that first or last, or where do you want to talk about it? 'Cause it's always a topic, we know we're talking
We know
about that.
that's, we know that's coming.
Yeah, so it's not a secret. It's not, you know. So it sounds to me, what I hear you sort of saying in the background is, is this enough time if we're going to have problem statements?
That's kind of where I'm gathering from,
Mhm.
because I know that last time we did take problem statements into
It was.
3 or 4 meetings.
Mhm. Well, it also depends on how many topics there are going to be and how long we want negotiations to last. We started out last time with at least 8, maybe. I remember a large number.
I thought there were maybe even 12.
There
at the
might have
very
been
beginning.
12
There
at the
were a
beginning.
lot.
We had a lot. And
Can we rather than and deciding this later, can we say topics will be presented and prioritized prior to decisions being made? And thereafter, additional topic will be presented and prioritized. How do I say that? And thereafter, additional topics may be added only with the agreement of both the board negotiation teams and the teachers' representatives. And I guess then it's going to decide upon whether we do problem statements.
Well, you probably don't need to do problem statements just to prioritize. If we have an understanding, so maybe, remember last time we
Yeah.
talked, there were some topics and we said, you know what, this is going to take a lot of time and we're going to need some extra information. So we talked about that, and then we sent off to get more information, we tackled another topic.
My question would be, even if we are going to write problem statements and that takes a great deal of time, isn't the initial process throwing all the topics out there in the first place? So is it still
And then-
reasonable to have a 2-meeting deadline, even if we decide to take the longer route and go with all the problem statements for putting a topic out there?
You know, you don't have to go into the problem statements right away.
Okay.
We wouldn't have to. If it's helpful, we sure could do that, if it's helpful to the discussion, but then if we prioritize, then we just understand how long that might take.
So is it the word prioritize that's problematic? So should it just be topics will be presented by no later than the second meeting? Is that, I mean, would that fix the concern? And then prioritized could be potentially after that?
Mr. Fay, as I recall, the idea of this is that we aren't continuing to add topics.
Right.
On
And
and on,
I-
and that's the whole idea. You decide this is what we're going to talk about, and then we
And I
work
think we're
through
in
the
agreement
process.
with that, are we not? And I would say that, just understanding that, you know, if we can get it done by the second meeting, that would be great. So, I guess, with the change
It's
of the
okay if we
proposals to
get that out
topics,
there,
I'm
okay.
okay. With the change of proposals to topics as it is right now, I guess I'm okay. And then just understanding that when the topics are done, they're done, without agreement about both sides, as in the past.
So we're giving ourselves 2 meetings to get the topics out there.
Yes.
And if we end up prioritizing somewhere in there, that would be fine, but if we don't get that done by the second meeting, we can do it. Okay.
Yeah, but the
Okay.
topics will be closed.
All right.
Okay.
Are we okay to leave the word prioritized in there then,
Yeah.
with our understanding? Okay.
Okay.
All right.
Okay. Item number 11 with the revision of proposals to topics is acceptable to both parties. Item number 12, negotiating and agreeing to proposals.
have one statement I take a little issue to,
Sure.
and that's the very last one. You know,
Mhm.
or until issuance of unilateral contracts.
Mhm.
It almost makes it sound like we're heading that way. And I don't want
Well, I
that.
don't think that's meant that way. Dr. Sullivan and I visited about this, and you had some feedback on that. Do you remember what we were talking about? That we don't want to make it sound that way, but it's really, that's what happens, I guess. You know.
The unilateral contracts, you know, comes after the impasse part, and we don't want to even suggest that. I mean, in my mind.
Mhm.
Well, I know that was not the intention of the school
No.
board to suggest
That we,
that that's, maybe what you need to do is maybe just write a complete separate sentence that says if it becomes necessary.
Or strike it, or strike the entire last sentence.
well, Dr. Sullivan, maybe you can answer this question. If we did that, the entire last sentence, I'm sorry, I didn't listen all the way. Did you say the entire last sentence or just the last part of it?
Entire last
Well, we've already said in this agreement, haven't we, that those agreements are tentative, which we know.
Yep.
I'm wondering though, if you strike that, does it mean that if we've agreed tentatively to something and we end up going to impasse, does it mean those tentative agreements are not, they may not be agreed to anymore? I mean, if we take that out, do you know what I mean?
No, because when you go, if, you know, that's that impasse word. I hate
know,
it.
Those
We
are
all-
stated in the binder.
Yeah, we all know that tentative agreements are held as agreements when it comes to the fact-finding commission.
That was
We
my
can't
only
all of a sudden
question.
say, well, now we don't agree to that. Or you can't say, well, now we don't agree to that. Because the fact-finding commission is going to say, you've already agreed to that, therefore it's part of it. And we know that
Yeah.
from history.
Dr. Sullivan, do you want to speak to that? Are we right in that thinking?
In terms of going to the fact-finding commission, yes.
I know in the past on the agenda, we've always had at the bottom of the agenda, tentative agreements, whatever it happens to be. And every time we knock one off the top, we put it on
Just
the bottom.
Mhm.
And that's kind of the,
What if we just said such agreements are only tentative until negotiations are complete, period?
Well, but then you do have to ratify the entire
Yep.
agreement, though. Because they are only tentative till both sides approve the
Ratify.
entire.
I see, so negotiations are complete even though it isn't ratified yet.
Mm-hmm.
I just don't like the wording of or until issuance of unilateral contracts because it's leaving it open again for the possibility, and I don't like that. Even though it is, obviously.
Well, it's obviously there.
It's obviously there. And in,
Mr. Fay, would it be our understanding at the table that those agreements would be agreements whether or not you go to impasse? We've agreed to them.
absolutely.
Yeah, so that's.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So maybe if we have that as part of our discussion, do you think we can get rid of that last part?
I think if that's gonna move us forward, then let's.
Yeah.
From or on, from or.
Yeah, just,
I think the whole
Strike
last
out.
sentence is.
Yeah.
Or.
So where are we at?
Sure.
I'm hearing a
Wanna
couple
take
of
that
different
last
Oh, I
opinions.
thought that's what you just agreed to.
no, we just agreed to
Just that
that
last
part.
sentence? All right.
Just
Just
that.
to say, you know,
Just
to
the
put a
or?
period after parties, is that what you're
Yes,
thinking,
that's what
Mrs.
I
Fair?
was.
All right.
Yeah, Mr. Fay, if that's agreeable, and we have.
That's agreeable
the
with me.
understanding.
Those
Yeah.
were the only words I was
Yep.
having issue with.
Well, I understand that. We do too. We don't like the word.
No.
Okay, item number 12, with the revision of striking or until issuance of unilateral contracts. I'm assuming there's approvals.
Yeah. I think we're fine there.
Okay. Item number 13, timeframe for completion.
I don't think we can discuss that until we know the number of topics.
I know when you and I had talked earlier, Mr. Fay, your desire was to get contracts issued before school is out.
Absolutely.
Is it possible? Are you guys gonna have 12 topics? How much work is this going to be? How long is it going to take?
We're not going to have 12 topics.
Yeah, okay.
Maybe 11.
Might have 11, might have 13.
Oh, not 12.
Yeah.
12 is my magic number. I'm not doing 12.
Oh.
13, yes. 11, yes.
The other aspect, we added a target date to the last group of ground rules because we wanted to really hit a time frame for payroll because we are already into the summer and we wanted to hit payroll for the first time, for the first payroll. But that was the reason why we put a date in there, to really push us along. And obviously, we don't want to extend this any farther than you do. You know, we would like to have contracts out as soon as possible, as well as you, because it's for the same reasons.
Yeah. Well, I don't think it would be our desire to negotiate into the summer unless we needed to. But we also don't know how much time this is going to take. It's nice to have a target, so we all agree that we'd like to be done in May, so that the contracts are out and you guys can go on vacation. That'd be really nice.
It does say target date, not
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, exactly.
That's what
Absolutely.
it has to be or else.
Well, we didn't hit our target last time.
No.
We went many months past that. But that we have to agree that that did spur us to have meetings and address things and move forward. And I think I even remember you, Mr. Fay, saying, we do have a target date here.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
We need to move.
So, and I have no problem saying, okay, let's put the target date of,
May.
I was thinking May, you know,
Well, you want to get the contracts out before
before
school's
school's
out.
done.
Early May it would be then,
That's
so that,
May 6th allows, I believe, would allow, which is the first Friday in May, would allow time for HR to get things distributed by the next week, which would provide time for the contracts to be turned in prior to the summer vacation.
That's,
oh, okay. May
I
6th.
think that's
So May 6th is your suggestion then for a target date?
Is a suggestion.
I'm okay with that.
I'm good with that.
Sure,
Okay,
yeah, that sounds
great.
good.
Yes.
Because that gives them the time.
That's
It's
not
not-
an issue.
Yeah, it's not 30 days to get it back anymore.
Okay, item
It's
number
14 or
13,
15 or
timeframe for
something.
completion with a target date to complete the 16-17 negotiations of May 6, 2016 as approved by the parties.
Mhm.
Are there any additional ground rules that either party would like to provide? None from the school board?
Mhm, yeah.
You good?
Mr. Chair,
Mr.
Hey,
Fay?
I'm just looking and conversing here at the ground rules that we proposed, and I think that we've covered them, albeit in a much more specific terms than simplistic. But I believe that we've covered the majority of them to our satisfaction.
Okay, so these ground
Great,
rules
thank
then
you.
Mrs. Fay, Mrs. Fair?
No, nothing, I think.
Oh,
No.
so then we're prepared to move forward with the agenda?
Do we want to, since we have time, do we want to have the corrections made and run out and sign them at this time, or do you want to wait for the next meeting? I'm just asking, maybe
I
not.
think
Do we need
just so
time?
that we don't make any
We
mistakes,
should wait.
Yeah.
Yes, I would
That's
agree.
fine.
I would
I would
prefer
agree.
that we do it
Mhm.
in the interim, and then Twyla can send them out in advance and have both parties look at them.
I would agree.
To make sure that we get them.
All right, excellent, good idea.
So we're prepared to move forward with the agenda. Okay.
Yes.
So under debrief, starting with item number 6, which is where the discussion about proposed ground rules began. Sentence number 2 and 3 was stricken, and item number 6, as revised, was approved by the parties. Item number 7, sentence number 2 was stricken, and item number 7, as revised, was approved by the parties. Item number 8 was approved as presented. Item number 9, with the second sentence revised to read, the recorder will distribute the minutes to the DEA negotiators, the board negotiators, the superintendent, the DEA president, at least 2 business days prior to the next meeting when practical. With that revision, item number 9 was approved by the parties. Items number 10 and 11, as presented, were approved by the parties. Item number 12, with or until issuance of unilateral contracts being stricken, was approved by the parties. And item number 13, time frame for completion, with a target date of May 6, 2016, was approved by the parties. Did I miss anything?
I think you got it.
Okay, schedule next meeting date and set agenda items. Item number 5.
Need to look at my phone.
Yeah.
My calendar.
It's when we need the
Sorry.
You need the forms for calendar.
Well, Mr. Fay and I both are going to be extremely busy, and so for us, I'm thinking Tuesday or Thursday evenings. 6:30 earliest?
Evening might have to, unless we go mornings, and that's not good for you.
Unless you do
Or us.
really early mornings.
Or us, because that puts us into a bind, because I like to be in my classroom by 7:40,
Yeah.
and that's, and if you don't have any objections to meeting in an evening,
It depends on which meeting, or which evening, I think, for both of us.
Yeah, for me, next week, Thursday would be doable, Tuesday would be really difficult.
Can you not meet on Wednesdays?
Wednesdays are tough nights.
yeah. At least it's 17. Couple more weeks, yeah, a couple more weeks.
Okay.
You work?
Volleyball.
Yeah.
So what was that, did we say the 10th? Is that-
Thursday the 10th is, I
Let me
think,
see.
what we're looking at.
Yep, I can do it.
Okay.
What time, what, did you say at 6:30?
Well,
Or
we
when
have,
were you thinking?
we have track
Six?
practice.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah, okay.
Mr. Fay and I both are coaching track, so the earliest we could get out of there, without leaving everybody else,
Yeah, no.
would be,
6:30.
I mean, I suppose we could push it and say 5:30,
Yeah,
but that would probably be the very earliest.
very earliest.
Well, It's
Well,
not a
minimum
problem
6.
for me.
Yeah,
so-
a little bit later is better for me because then it gives my spouse a chance to get home before coming here.
6:30.
6:30.
Then we're done by 8, which still.
Still gives you some
Yeah.
time if you need to do some things.
Seems reasonable.
Okay, so March 10th.
You okay with that?
Yeah.
I'm okay with that.
I'm fine.
Okay. Again, 6:30, right? 6:30.
6:30 p.m.
Okay.
Thursday, March 10th, right? Okay.
Got it. 6:30. 6:30. 6:30. 6:30. 6:30. 6:30. 6:30. 6:30. 6:30. 6:30. 6:30. 6:30. 6:30. 6:30. 6:30. 6:30. 6:30. 6:30. 6:30. 6:30. 6:30. 6:30. 6:30. 6:30. 6:30. 6:30. 6:30. 6:30. 6:30. 6:30. 6:30. 6:30. 6:30. 6:30. 6:30. 6:30. 6:30. 6:30. 6:30. 6:30. 6:30. 6:30. 6:30. 6:30. 6:30. 6:30. 6:30. 6:30. 6:30. 6:30. 6:30. 6:30. 6:30. 6:30. 6:30. 6:30. 6:30. 6:30. 6:30. 6:30. 6:30. 6:30. 6:30. 6:30. 6:30. 6:30. 6:30. 6:30. 6:30. 6:30. 6:30. 6:30. 6:30. 6:30. 6:30 Good, works
Thursday,
for us in the calendar.
Thursday,
All
March
right.
10th at 6:30?
Yep.
Yes.
Okay, agenda topics.
Well, I think we'd be looking at topics for negotiation at that point.
Were we going to have Mr. Reed present? to us
Oh,
at that
yes,
time?
excuse me.
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah.
were we wanting to have Mr. Reap go over the finances, the financial data and the spreadsheet and those kinds of things?
Okay.
So we are all on the same page with that? Is that, that's for the next meeting?
And if time allows, do you want us to also do topics?
I hope it's not an hour and a half of.
Not either.
I know, I'm sorry, but you know, that's why we have people like you.
It's not the fun math, though.
Right.
It's not trig and calc.
Yeah, that's what I read.
I think we should come prepared to at least give our preliminary topics.
Topics.
Mhm.
I think it's fair.
Present them.
So we could start presenting some topics.
Absolutely.
Mhm. Yep. I don't know
Okay.
how long that's
I
gonna
have
take.
2 items, financial presentation and discussion of agenda topics. Okay, hearing nothing else, the meeting is adjourned.
Great, thank you. Thank you.
Good job.
Is this one yours? Is this one yours or mine?
Not mine. Must be yours.
I think,
Yeah, I think it was just sitting here.
no, it's underneath you.
It was just sitting here.
Yes.
Some clarity from the